The rugged outskirts of Arizona have always been contested territory, but tonight Sunset Ridge Ranch becomes a battleground. The Sinaloa Cartel just made their fatal mistake vandalizing Marcus Cooper's front gate, expecting to find a simple rancher's homestead. Instead, they've walked into the domain of Shadow, a legendary Delta Force K-9 operator with 3 combat tours, 2 Purple Hearts, and a kill count that makes hardened warriors whisper his name. For Marcus Cooper, watching these cartel thugs spray paint his gate wasn't just vandalism. It was a declaration of war against everything he and Shadow fought to protect. Before we dive deeper, tell us where you're watching from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow we've saved something extraordinary for you. The Arizona sun beats down mercilessly on Sunset Ridge Ranch as Marcus Cooper makes his morning inspection, his boots crunching against the gravel path, while Shadow, his Belgian Malinois, moves silently beside him. The ranch sprawls across 200 acres of rugged borderland, a working cattle operation that doubles as something far more sophisticated. The security systems hidden beneath the rustic exterior would make military bases envious. Movement at the south. Fence line. Sarah Martinez's voice crackles over Marcus's radio. His ranch foreman and former Army Ranger has an eye for trouble that saved lives in places most civilians couldn't find on a map. Shadow's ears prick forward instantly. His body, language speaking volumes to someone with Marcus's experience. "What are we looking at?" Marcus asks, already changing direction. His hand unconsciously brushes the concealed carry holster beneath his denim jacket. Fresh tire tracks. Looks like they were casing the property. Professional job. They stayed. Just outside our primary sensor range. Sarah's Border Patrol experience shows in how she's already documenting the evidence with her phone, marking GPS coordinates. Shadow works the area in a precise search pattern, his nose continuously testing. The wind. Marcus studies the tracks while the dog works, noting details that would escape untrained eyes. How long ago? Based on the soil compression and morning dew patterns, sometime between 0200 and 0400, Sarah analyses, her tactical background evident in her precise assessment. They're testing our security coverage. James Chen joins them, the ranch's security specialist, moving with the measured calm of his Marine Force Recon training. Found 3 more observation points just like this along the east perimeter. They're mapping our vulnerabilities. Marcus surveys the surrounding landscape, the morning light revealing the vast emptiness of the borderlands stretching toward Mexico. Somewhere out there, the cartel is watching, planning. "Get Dr. Torres down here," he orders. "I want Shadow fully evaluated. He'll have sensed something's wrong." The ranch's daily operations continue, but with an underlying tension. The ranch hands work their regular duties, while James's security team reinforces vulnerable points. In the veterinary building, Dr. Isabella Torres examines Shadow thoroughly, noting his heightened alertness. His focus is laser sharp, she reports to Marcus. Elevated awareness but no anxiety. He's in pre-mission mode, just like his Delta Force days. Marcus watches Shadow patrol the ranch's perimeter, the dog's military training evident in how he varies his patterns to avoid predictability. "Remember when they said a ranch was no place for a Delta Force dog?" he asks Sarah as they observe. "Shadow work. Called it a waste of his training?" Sarah nods, her expression grim. "The cartel's about to learn why we kept his skills sharp." In the security office, James reviews footage from concealed cameras with his team. "These aren't common criminals," he points out, studying the shadowy figures on the screens. Look at their movement patterns, their spacing. These are professional operators. Marcus studies the footage intently. Miguel Ramirez doesn't take insults lightly, he says, referencing the notorious cartel leader whose signature had been found among the graffiti on his gate. El Coyote's reputation depends on showing strength. The afternoon brings Sheriff Kate Thompson to the ranch, her patrol vehicle kicking up dust as it approaches the main gate. "Got some intel you need to hear," she says after Marcus meets her. Cartel's moving serious hardware across the border, military grade. Marcus processes this while watching Shadow work through his daily training exercises. The Belgian Malinois' combat instincts remain razor sharp despite his transition to ranch life. "They think we're just simple ranchers," he says finally. That's their mistake. As evening approaches, Marcus gathers his core team in the ranch's hidden command center. 15 faces look back at him, each person chosen for their experience and dedication. Former military, law enforcement, and special operations personnel who found a new purpose at Sunset Ridge. "We've got 3 options," James outlines, pulling up tactical displays. "Evacuate, call in reinforcements, or we show them exactly what this ranch was built for," Marcus finishes. "Every person here is a veteran. Shadow isn't just a guard dog, he's a warrior. It's time to remind the cartel why they used to fear Delta Force K9 units." The sun sets over Sunset Ridge, painting the sky in deep purples and oranges. Marcus makes his final rounds, checking positions and reviewing plans. Shadow walks beside him, a silent guardian representing everything this ranch stands for. So, the distance, dust trails mark the movement of vehicles on remote roads. The cartel is coming, but Sunset Ridge is ready. Tonight they'll learn that vandalizing this gate means facing not just any guard dog, but a Delta Force veteran who never stopped being a warrior. Through his night vision optics, Marcus spots movement. In the hills surrounding his ranch, Shadow's posture beside him communicates everything he needs to know. The dog's Delta Force training is kicking in, combat instincts rising to the surface. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south, James reports over the encrypted radio network. Thermal signatures suggest heavily armed personnel. Marcus watches Shadow's reaction to the increasing activity. The Belgian Malinois hasn't relaxed, his alert posture since sunset. "Sarah, what's Shadow's body language telling you?" Through the radio, Sarah's voice comes clear and focused. "He's displaying full combat awareness but no stress indicators. This isn't a guard dog barking at shadows. This is a Delta Force operator reading the battlefield." The ranch's transformation over the past 12 hours has been methodical. Every team member knows their position, and Shadow understands his role completely. It's exactly what Marcus had designed the ranch's security for, though he'd hoped never. To test it under these conditions, James adjusts the thermal imaging displays. Remember Kandahar? When Shadow single-handedly stopped that Taliban assault on our forward operating base? Marcus nods, thinking back to his military days, watching how Shadow could work independently, anticipating threats and responding with lethal precision. Everyone said a dog couldn't operate with that level of tactical awareness. He proved them wrong then. He'll prove them wrong again tonight. Dr. Torres's voice interrupts over the radio. "Marcus, you need to see this. Medical building now." The medical building sits at the heart of the ranch compound. Its reinforced walls housing both veterinary facilities and a backup command center. Marcus finds Isabella examining footage from Shadow's latest perimeter sweep. Look at his movement patterns. Isabella points to the screen. He's not just patrolling, he's actively establishing defensive positions, marking likely enemy approach, routes, setting up ambush points. His Delta Force training is fully activated. Marcus watches the footage with growing appreciation. This is why he'd recruited Isabella. The veterinarian's understanding of working dog psychology goes far beyond medical care. Shadow wasn't just any Delta Force dog, he explains. He was part of an experimental program to develop canine operators who could work almost autonomously in combat situations. Outside, the ranch's lights cast pools of illumination across the grounds. Sarah approaches with her own tactical dog, a Dutch shepherd named Storm, moving like a ghost beside her. Getting increased radio traffic in Spanish, heavily encrypted, but we're picking up fragments. Let's hear it, Marcus says. Sarah plays a recording through her tactical headset. Marcus's expression darkens as he translates. They're not just coming to vandalize the ranch, he says. They want Shadow. The cartel thinks they can reprogram a Delta Force dog for their operations. James's laugh is cold. They really don't understand what they're dealing with. The night deepens, and with it comes the soft whir of drone motors. The cartel's reconnaissance becomes bolder, testing the ranch's air defense protocols. But Marcus's team is ready. Silent signal jammers activate, creating a protective dome over Sunset Ridge. In the reinforced kennel area, Storm raises his head, tracking something beyond human perception. The Dutch shepherd's military training shows in how he alerts not with barking, but with precise body language that Sarah immediately reads. Movement in Sector 7, she reports. Storm's got multiple contacts moving tactically. Marcus moves to the ranch's east side, where Shadow maintains his watch position. The Belgian Malinois' combat experience shows in his absolute stillness, a stillness Marcus recognizes from countless missions overseas. They're probing our blind spots, James observes, watching the thermal feeds. Professional work. These aren't street thugs. Through his night vision optics, Marcus spots the telltale signs of experienced operators moving through the darkness. The cartel has brought in mercenaries, former military turned guns for hire. Implement Pattern Delta, he orders. Let's show them what they're really up against. Pattern Delta is something unique to Sunset Ridge, a defensive strategy that transforms the entire ranch into a coordinated response grid. Every team member knows their role, their position, their moment to act. As midnight approaches, the first direct probe comes. 3 figures testing the southeastern fence line, expecting to find standard ranch security measures. Instead, they encounter something unprecedented. Shadow and Storm, working in tandem, execute a silent containment maneuver developed through months of specialized training. The cartel scouts retreat, but not before the dogs have gathered valuable intelligence through their scent tracking. They're wearing military-grade gear, Sarah reports, after analyzing the dogs' behavior patterns. American make, recent issue. Someone's supplying them. In the command center, James updates their tactical display. They've got us surrounded on 3 sides, using the canyon as a natural barrier on the 4th. Marcus studies the pattern of enemy positions. Classic siege setup. They think they can wait us out, force a mistake. Through the ranch's cameras, he watches Shadow and Storm moving with practiced precision. Every member of his team understands what's at stake. This isn't just about protecting a ranch. It's about defending a principle. Show me the drone feed from Sector 12, he tells James. The screen shifts, revealing thermal images of vehicles moving into position. They're staging for a first light attack. James reports. Traditional cartel timing. In the medical building, Isabella monitors both dogs' biological readings from their tactical vests. Heart rate steady, stress indicators normal, she reports to Marcus. They're not just ready, they're eager. Marcus checks his watch. 4 hours until dawn. 4 hours to perfect their preparations. 4 hours before El Coyote learns the true meaning of facing a Delta Force K-9 operator. Send the coded alert to Sheriff Thompson, he orders, but make it clear we handle this our way, on our terms. In the darkness, Shadow presses against his leg, his posture communicating everything. Marcus needs to know. This dog isn't just a trained animal, he's a warrior who never stopped serving, and tonight he'll prove it. The cartel wanted to send a message by vandalizing Sunset Ridge Ranch. Instead, they're about to become a case study in why you never underestimate a Delta Force dog, retired or not. 3 hours before dawn, the first real test comes. Shadow's posture shifts subtly, and Marcus instantly recognizes the change. Through his night vision optics, he counts 6 operators moving in a professional stack formation approaching the western perimeter. Their gear confirms his worst fears. Military-grade weapons, advanced night vision, tactical comms. They're running a test probe, James whispers, crouched beside Marcus in the observation post. Looking for reaction times, defense patterns. Marcus keys his radio, keeping his voice low. All units hold. Let them think they found a gap. Sarah, move Storm to Sector 5. Silent approach. The cartel team reaches the outer fence, their movements precise, showing clear military training. The leader signals, and 2 men begin working on the fence with specialized cutting tools. El Coyote isn't taking chances, James observes. These aren't cartel soldiers, they're hired professionals. Marcus watches as the fence team creates an opening. Their technique is precise, minimizing noise and visual signature. The cartel team slips through the fence, moving in textbook formation toward what they believe is a blind spot in the ranch's security. They don't realize they're walking into a trap 3 months in the making. Storm, working with an unprecedented level of coordination with Shadow, has already flanked the intruders. The dogs move like ghosts through the darkness, their military training evident in every silent step. When the signal comes, their response is devastating. Shadow strikes first, taking down the rear guard with precision learned in combat zones. Storm simultaneously disables their communications expert. The Dutch Shepherd's attack so swift, the man doesn't have time to raise an alarm. The remaining cartel operators react with professional speed, but they're unprepared for the level of tactical coordination they face. Command, Sector 5 is secure. Sarah's voice comes through clear and controlled. 4 tangos detained, 2 evaded south, no casualties. Marcus moves quickly to the scene, watching Shadow maintain an alert posture while Sarah and James secure. The prisoners, the captured cartel operators, lie zip-tied and disarmed, their expensive equipment scattered around them. One of them, seeing Marcus approach, speaks in accented English. "You have no idea what's coming," he warns with a sneer. Marcus studies their gear while James's team processes the prisoners. Russian night vision, American tactical vests, Israeli comms. Someone's bankrolling a serious operation. Sarah joins him, checking Storm and Shadow for any injuries. The dogs remain alert, monitoring their captives with professional focus. Think, this changes their timeline, accelerates it, Marcus confirms grimly. El Coyote can't risk word getting back to his bosses that his advance team was taken down by 2 dogs. Back in the command center, Isabella examines footage of the engagement. Look at their coordination. She points to Shadow and Storm's movements. Everything we theorized about cross-trained K9 teams working in concert, they're actually doing it. The ranch shifts to high alert. Marcus knows they've provoked a response that will come hard and fast. The Sinaloa cartel can't afford to lose face, not after investing in professional operators and expensive equipment. James's voice crackles over the radio. Multiple vehicles moving on access roads. They're not trying to hide anymore. Through the command center's windows, Marcus sees Shadow standing at alert. The Belgian Malinois' posture communicating volumes to his trained eye. Storm mirrors. His stance from another sector. They sense the coming storm. Update from Sheriff Thompson, Sarah reports. State police are mobilizing, but they're at least 2 hours out. Border Patrol tied up with a major operation near Nogales. Marcus considers their options. The captured operator's gear reveals sophisticated planning. The Sinaloa cartel isn't just trying to vandalize Sunset Ridge. They're hoping to capture its security measures, its dogs, everything that's made it a threat to their operations. They think they can turn our own techniques against us, he tells his team during a quick briefing. They don't understand that what makes this place special isn't the security systems, it's the bond between handlers and dogs. Outside, the night seems to grow darker. Drone motors whir overhead as the cartel conducts last-minute reconnaissance, but Marcus's team has prepared for this. Each dog knows its role. Each handler understands their part in the ranch's defense. Through his command scope, Marcus watches cartel vehicles taking position along the ridgelines. Their lights are off, but thermal imaging shows the truth. Dozens of armed men preparing for assault. They're waiting for something, James observes, studying the pattern of enemy positions. Marcus checks his watch. 2 hours until dawn. Not waiting, staging. This isn't just an attack, it's a demonstration. El Coyote wants to show what happens to anyone who defies his cartel. Shadow presses against his leg, and Marcus feels the familiar surge of confidence that comes with having a trusted partner at his side. Around the ranch, other handlers share similar moments with their dogs. Quiet affirmations of the bonds that make Sunset Ridge unique. All units maintain surveillance, he orders. They'll come hard and fast when they move. Remember your training, trust your dogs. The captured operators are secured in the ranch's reinforced shelter, their gear catalogued, providing valuable intelligence about what the main force will bring. But Marcus knows the real test is still coming. The Sinaloa cartel thought they were targeting a simple ranch. Instead, they've walked into a defense planned by someone who spent years working with elite military dogs. When their main assault comes, they'll learn why Sunset Ridge's reputation was earned through more than just ranching. The attack begins with a feint. Multiple vehicles suddenly accelerate toward the ranch's north gate, lights blazing, engines roaring. It's meant to draw attention, to pull defenders toward what seems like an obvious assault. Marcus doesn't take the bait. Hold positions, he orders, watching the tactical display. Real attacks coming from the south. Shadow's posture confirms his assessment. The Belgian Malinois faces south, every muscle tense. Around the ranch, other dogs mirror his alertness, their combat experience showing in their disciplined responses. The first explosion rocks the southern perimeter. Smoke grenades follow, creating a wall of concealment. Through the chaos, Marcus's voice remains steady on the radio. Execute Pattern Sierra. All K9 units activate. Pattern Sierra is something unique to Sunset Ridge, a defensive strategy that transforms the entire ranch into a synchronized response grid. Dogs and handlers move with practiced precision, each team knowing exactly where they need to be. Contact. South! James's voice crackles through the comms. Multiple tangos breaching Sector 8. The cartel forces move with military precision, but they've never faced anything like Sunset Ridge's integrated defense. Shadow and Storm, working in tandem, flank the first assault team. The dogs' attack is silent, devastating, and completely coordinated. They're using shield teams, Sarah reports, watching through thermal imaging. Professional breach tactics. Marcus switches channels. Storm, released for PCO. The Dutch Shepherd, his previous anxiety forgotten in the focus of combat, moves like a shadow through the smoke. Sarah follows, trusting the dog's superior senses. Together, they outflank the shield team, hitting them from an impossible angle. Inside the command center, Isabella monitors the dog's vital signs. Heart rates elevated but steady. They're not stressed. They're in mission mode. The sound of gunfire erupts from multiple directions as the cartel forces probe, looking for weaknesses. Instead, they find precisely positioned K9 teams ready to counter every move. East Wall compromised, a team member reports. They've breached the outer fence. Marcus's response is immediate. Shadow, Storm converge on East Sector. All handlers implement surge response. The night fills with chaos as the cartel's main force commits to the attack. But in the midst of the violence, Sunset Ridge's dogs demonstrate why they're considered elite warriors. Each animal moves with purpose, their actions coordinated through months of specialized training. Through her tactical scope, Sarah watches Storm take down a cartel operator attempting to plant explosives. The Dutch Shepherd's attack is textbook, disabling without killing, just as he was trained. They're pushing toward the kennels, James warns, trying to capture the reserve dogs. That's not going to happen, Marcus responds. He switches channels. Execute Protocol Diamond. Protocol Diamond activates Sunset Ridge's most innovative defense, a series of predetermined response patterns that allow the dogs to work semi-autonomously while maintaining tactical coordination. It's something Marcus developed based on his combat experience, a system that maximizes the dog's natural abilities. The cartel forces find themselves facing an enemy they can't predict. Dogs appear from impossible angles, working in pairs and trios, their attacks synchronized with their handlers' movements. Every attempt to gain ground is met with precise, coordinated resistance. Vehicle approaching main gate. Sarah's voice cuts through the radio chatter. Armored transport, military grade. Marcus watches the vehicle through thermal imaging. Its heat signature suggests heavy modification. Probably cartel engineers upgrading civilian vehicles for combat. Shadow, Storm, move to intercept, he orders. Pattern Omega. The two dogs move like ghosts through the chaos, their handlers providing cover. When the transport reaches the predetermined point, the dogs strike. Storm targets the front tires while Shadow attacks from the blind spot, forcing the driver to swerve. The transport crashes into prepared barriers, its occupants trapped as K9 teams converge from multiple angles. The cartel's attempt to breach the main entrance has failed spectacularly. Through the smoke and chaos, Marcus spots movement on the ridgeline, a figure watching the battle through high-powered optics. El Coyote is here, he tells James. He's watching his plan fall apart. The cartel leader's presence explains the attack's sophistication. This isn't just about vandalizing. A ranch, It's about El Coyote proving he can't be defied. But he's miscalculated badly. They're regrouping, Sarah reports, pulling back to covered positions. Marcus studies the tactical display. The cartel forces have lost their initial momentum, but this is far from over. El Coyote didn't become a cartel leader by giving up easily. Reinforce the west wall, he orders. They'll try to split our response teams. He turns to James. How long until dawn? 90 minutes. James checks his watch. State police still an hour out. Around them, Sunset Ridge's dogs maintain their disciplined defense. Each animal shows why they were chosen for military service, why their handlers trust them with their lives. This isn't just about protecting a ranch. It's about proving that these dogs never stopped being warriors. Through the night vision cameras, Marcus watches El Coyote conferring with his lieutenants. The cartel leader's body language suggests frustration, anger at finding his professional assault team stymied by what he dismissed as a simple rancher's security. All units maintain defensive positions, Marcus broadcasts. They'll come again, harder this time. Trust your dogs, trust your training. The night is far from over, but Sunset Ridge has already proven something crucial. When handlers and dogs work as true partners, when their training focuses on cooperation instead of just control, they become something more than the cartel could have anticipated. They become an unbeatable team. The first explosion catches everyone off guard. Not a diversion this time, but a targeted strike against Sunset Ridge's power station. Emergency generators kick in immediately, but the message is clear. El Coyote is done testing defenses. Multiple breaches. James's voice cuts through the darkness. They're using shape charges on the outer walls. Marcus watches the tactical display as red indicators light up across the ranch's perimeter. The Sinaloa cartel has shifted tactics, launching simultaneous attacks from multiple angles. No more probing strikes. This is a full commitment of forces. All handlers fall back to secondary positions, he orders, watching Shadow's alert posture. Implement protocol firewall. Through the command center's armored window, Marcus sees the first cartel teams moving through the breaches. Their equipment is different now. Heavier body armor, specialized breaching tools. El Coyote has committed his elite forces. They're targeting the storage areas, Sarah reports through static-filled comms. Demo charges planted on the east wing. Let them have it, Marcus responds, his voice steady. That's why we built the ranch in layers. The east wing erupts in controlled demolition, but the cartel forces find nothing of value. The real security systems, the crucial equipment, everything important was moved to hardened underground facilities hours ago. Contact west, a handler shouts over the radio. They've got dog teams of their own. This is what Marcus had feared. Through his tactical scope, he spots them. German shepherds leading the cartel assault. Not military trained, but vicious animals. Conditioned for aggression. Shadow, Storm, move to intercept, he orders. Show them the difference between attack dogs and warriors. The confrontation is brief, but intense. Shadow and Storm, working with years of military discipline, outmaneuver the cartel dogs with practiced ease. Their handlers provide covering. Fire while the K9s demonstrate why Sunset Ridge's training methods are superior. Marcus, Isabella's voice breaks through the chaos. They're pushing toward the medical building. We've got wounded in there. The medical building houses not just their injured team members, but crucial veterinary supplies and equipment. Marcus makes a quick decision. Shadow, form up on me, he commands. Sarah, get your team to the north side. We're going to show them why you don't threaten our people. Moving through the smoke-filled compound, Marcus leads a coordinated defense that demonstrates everything Sunset Ridge stands for. Dogs and handlers work in perfect synchronization, their movements showing years of refined training. They're pulling back from the medical building, James reports, but we've got heavy equipment moving up the south road. The distinctive rumble of armored vehicles cuts him off. El Coyote has committed his heaviest assets, Cartel technicals modified for urban warfare. All units implement scorched earth protocols, Marcus orders. Let's show them why we built those access roads the way we did. The Cartel vehicles move confidently down the ranch's main approach, their drivers unaware that every route into Sunset Ridge was designed as a potential trap. When the lead vehicle triggers the first defensive measure, the entire column is caught. In a devastating crossfire, we've got movement on the ridge, Sarah's voice crackles through. El Coyote's personal guard is moving up. Marcus studies the tactical display. The Cartel leader is committing his reserves, likely frustrated by his force's failure to overcome what he dismissed as simple ranch security. They're not expecting our dogs to operate as tactical teams, he tells his staff. Every assault they launch is based on outdated assumptions about K9 capabilities. Through the facility's cameras, he watches Shadow and Storm coordinate a flanking maneuver that would make their military trainers proud. The dogs move like shadows, using terrain features for cover, demonstrating why Sunset Ridge's innovative training methods have proven so effective. East Sector compromised, a handler reports. They've breached the inner fence. Release pattern Delta, Marcus responds. All K9 units activate close quarters protocols. Pattern Delta transforms the breach zone into a coordinated defensive grid. Each dog K knows its role. Each handler understands their part in the larger strategy. When the Cartel forces push through the fence, they face something unprecedented. Shadow leads the counter-assault, his military training evident in every movement. Other dogs join the defense in waves, their attacks synchronized to herd the intruders into prepared containment zones. Marcus, James' voice is tense. They're setting up mortars on the ridge. The situation is deteriorating. El Coyote is escalating beyond what anyone had anticipated, bringing in weapons that could reduce Sunset Ridge to rubble. Status report, Marcus demands, moving between defensive positions. 5 handlers wounded, 2 critical, Isabella responds. Dogs are still operational, but the medical building won't survive a direct hit. Through her night vision optics, Marcus spots El Coyote's command post. The Cartel leader stands surrounded by his lieutenants, his posture showing growing frustration. This assault was supposed to be a demonstration of power. Instead, it's becoming an embarrassment. All units prepare for Protocol Omega, he broadcasts. They're done testing us. The real fight starts now. Around him, Sunset Ridge's defenders ready themselves for what's coming. Each handler checks their equipment while their K9 partners maintain alert positions. These dogs weren't trained just to attack. They were trained to think, to adapt, to work as part of a larger tactical response. The night sky lights up as the first mortar rounds arc toward the facility. El Coyote has decided to reduce Sunset Ridge to ash, but he's about to learn why military working dogs are considered force multipliers and why Sunset Ridge's innovative training methods have made it a target worth destroying. The first mortar Rounds impact with devastating force, but not where El Coyote intended. Sunset Ridge's outer buildings, designed as expendable shells, absorb the initial barrage, while the ranch's true defensive positions remain intact underground. "Status report," Marcus calls through the command net, his voice steady despite the explosions rocking the compound. "Medical team secure in Bunker 2, Isabella responds. "All wounded stabilized. Dogs are maintaining discipline under fire." Through reinforced observation ports, Marcus watches the cartel's mortar teams adjusting their fire. Their technique is professional, military-trained mercenaries earning their pay. But they're about to learn why Sunset Ridge's reputation was earned through more than just dog training. "Execute Operation Blackout," he orders. "All handlers prepare for night warfare protocols." The ranch's remaining exterior lights cut out simultaneously. In the sudden darkness, Sunset Ridge's defenders hold the advantage. Every dog and handler has trained extensively for zero-light operations. Multiple teams moving through the East Breach, James reports from his position. "They think we're blind." Marcus allows himself a grim smile. "Show them their mistake. Shadow, Storm, implement Pattern Sigma." The two dogs move like spirits through the darkness, their months of specialized training evident in every silent step. The cartel teams, despite their night vision gear, never see the attack coming. "Contact front," a cartel soldier shouts in Spanish, his voice cutting through the night. "The dogs are..." His transmission cuts off as Shadow and Storm demonstrate why military K9s are considered force multipliers. Their attack is coordinated, precise, and devastatingly effective. "Marcus," Sarah's voice comes through, urgent but controlled. They're setting up for a second mortar barrage, different angle this time. She studies the tactical display, noting the new firing positions. "They're trying to bracket us, find the underground facilities." The mortar teams have shifted to higher ground, giving them better coverage of the compound. But El Coyote's frustration is showing. He's rushing the deployment, making mistakes. "All handlers fall back to hardened positions," Marcus orders. "Shadow, Storm with me. Time to show them our counter-battery response." Moving through Sunset Ridge's underground network, Marcus leads his team toward a prepared position. These tunnels, built into the ranch's original design, allow defenders to move unseen across the compound. "They're targeting the kennel area," James warns. "Heavy rounds incoming." The explosions rock the facility, but the kennels are empty. Cleared hours ago when Marcus first suspected the attack would come, the cartel is wasting ammunition on evacuated buildings. "Status on Pattern Omega," he asks, reaching a reinforced firing position. "Ready on your mark," Sarah confirms. "Dogs are in position." Pattern Omega is something unique to Sunset Ridge, a coordinated response designed specifically for situations like this. When Marcus gives the signal, multiple K9 teams emerge from hidden positions across the compound. "Execute," he commands. The night erupts in controlled chaos. Shadow and Storm target the mortar team's flanks while other dogs strike from unexpected angles. The cartel soldiers, focused on their weapons, never see the attack coming. "Mortars neutralized," James reports with satisfaction. "East and North teams are down, but El Coyote isn't finished." Through her tactical scope, Sarah watches the cartel leader directing his forces with growing anger. His reputation is on the line now. He can't afford to be defeated by a simple ranch. "They're bringing up the heavy weapons," Sarah warns. "Technical vehicles with mounted guns." Marcus watches the cartel vehicles moving into position. They still think this is about the buildings. They don't understand what they're really fighting. Sunset Ridge's true strength isn't in its facilities or equipment. It's in the unbreakable bond between handlers and their dogs. Multiple breaches on the west wall, a handler reports. They're pushing hard. Let them come, Marcus responds. Shadow, Storm, show them why military dogs are different from attack dogs. The two canines move with practiced precision, their handlers providing coordinated support. When the cartel teams push through the breaches, they face something they've never trained for. Dogs operating as tactical units rather than simple attack animals. Command, we've got movement on the ridge. James's voice cuts through the chaos. El Coyote is repositioning his command post. Marcus studies the cartel leader's new position. His frustration is making him aggressive, pushing him to take unnecessary risks. It's exactly what Marcus has been waiting for. All units prepare for Phase 2, he broadcasts. They think they've got us contained. Time to show them Sunset Ridge's real capabilities. Around him, handlers and dogs ready themselves for the next stage of the battle. The ranch's innovative training methods are about to be demonstrated in full. Not just individual dog teams, but a coordinated defense that transforms the entire compound into a tactical response grid. Through the darkness, Shadow watches with calm focus. These dogs aren't just trained animals. They're combat veterans who understand exactly what's at stake. When Phase 2 begins, the Sinaloa cartel will learn why military working dogs are considered among the most effective force multipliers in modern warfare. The night is far from over, but Sunset Ridge's defenders have already proven something crucial. When handlers and dogs work as true partners, when their training focuses on tactical integration instead of just basic commands, they become something more than the cartel could have anticipated. They become an unbeatable team. Phase 2 begins with silence, complete radio silence. Every light in Sunset Ridge goes dark. Every system appears to shut down. To the cartel forces watching from the ridge, it looks like their sustained attack has finally knocked out the ranch's power. El Coyote leans forward, studying the darkened compound through his tactical scope. Move in, he orders in Spanish. Full breach of all sectors. But Marcus Cooper has spent years preparing for exactly this moment. In the ranch's underground command center, he watches thermal feeds as cartel forces advance confidently toward what they think is a disabled facility. All units hold, he whispers into his encrypted comms. Let them commit fully to the attack. The cartel teams move through the breaches they've created, their night vision gear giving them a false sense of security. They don't realize that Sunset Ridge's advanced thermal masking systems are feeding them exactly what Marcus wants them to see. They've passed the outer markers, James reports quietly. All teams committed. Marcus nods, watching Shadow's focused stance. Initiate Phase 2 protocols. All K9 units activate. What happens next demonstrates why Sunset Ridge's training methods have become legendary. The ranch's underground network, far more extensive than the cartel realized, allows defenders to emerge from multiple hidden positions simultaneously. Shadow and Storm strike first, targeting the cartel's communication specialists before they can raise an alarm. Storm and the other tactical dogs hit their flanking units. Each dog moves with military precision, their attacks coordinated through months of specialized training. Contact east, a cartel soldier shouts, his panic clear. The dogs are everywhere. Through her command scope, Sarah watches the chaos unfold. The cartel team's professional discipline begins to crack as they face an enemy they can't effectively target. Sunset Ridge's dogs aren't just attacking, they're implementing complex tactical maneuvers designed to split and isolate enemy forces. They're falling back to secondary positions, Sarah reports, but El Coyote is pushing them forward. The cartel leader's frustration is visible even at this distance. He's committed too many resources, lost too much face to retreat now. But his aggressive push is exactly what Marcus has been waiting for. Execute Pattern Lambda, he orders. Show them why we built this ranch the way we did. Pattern Lambda transforms Sunset Ridge's seemingly simple layout into a tactical maze. Hidden barriers rise from concealed positions, channeling cartel forces into predetermined zones of control. Each area becomes a separate battle space where K9 teams hold every advantage. Multiple tangos trapped in Sector 7, a handler reports. Shadow and Storm have them contained. Marcus moves through the underground passages, Shadow at his side. The Belgian Malinois combat experience shows in how he anticipates his handler's movements, maintaining perfect tactical positioning. Isabella, status on our wounded, he asks through the command net. Stable and secure, the veterinarian responds. The dogs are performing beyond expectations. Their tactical coordination is unprecedented. Through facility cameras, Marcus watches as Sunset Ridge's innovative training methods prove their worth. Dogs that were once single-purpose military K9s now operate as integrated tactical teams, their abilities multiplied by specialized cross-training. Marcus, James's voice cuts through with urgency. El Coyote's lieutenant is arguing with him. Looks like dissension in the ranks. She studies the cartel leader's command post through thermal imaging. The frustration of facing an enemy they can't effectively counter is creating friction among the leadership. They expected to find a ranch, she observes. Instead, they've walked into a demonstration of everything we've developed here. The night fills with the sound of controlled chaos as Sunset Ridge's defenders press their advantage. Each dog team moves with precision, their attacks coordinated through a command system that transforms the entire ranch into a unified response grid. Multiple vehicles starting up, Sarah reports. They're pulling back from the east sector. Marcus watches the thermal signatures of cartel forces retreating from areas where they face the most effective resistance. But he knows El Coyote can't afford to withdraw completely, not after committing so heavily to this attack. All units maintain pressure, he orders. They're regrouping, not retreating. Stay alert for their counterattack. Through the ranch's advanced surveillance system, he observes the cartel leader conferring urgently with his remaining officers. The Sinaloa cartel came expecting to destroy a simple ranch. Instead, they've encountered something they never trained for: military working dogs operating as coordinated tactical units. Status report, he demands, moving between command positions. 3 more handlers wounded. Non-critical, Isabella responds. Dogs are still at peak operational effectiveness. The tactical cross-training is paying off exactly as you theorized. Around them, Sunset Ridge's defenders maintain their disciplined response. Each handler trusts their dog completely, knowing that their partnership has been forged through more than just basic training. These are true tactical teams capable of adapting to rapidly changing battlefield conditions. They're bringing up their reserves, James warns. El Coyote is committing everything he has left. Marcus studies the tactical display, noting the movement of cartel forces. The next phase of the battle will test everything Sunset Ridge stands for, not just the ranch's defensive capabilities, but the core principle that military working dogs can be more than just individual assets. All units prepare for sustained engagement, he broadcasts. They think they've seen everything we can do. Show them why Sunset Ridge's reputation was earned through more than just basic training. The night is far from over, but already the battle has proven something crucial. When handlers and dogs are trained to work as integrated tactical teams, when their abilities are multiplied through specialized cross-training, they become something more than the cartel could have anticipated. They become an unstoppable force. Coyote's counterattack comes with a savagery that tests Sunset Ridge's defenses to their limit. Armored vehicles breach the outer walls, while combat teams equipped with specialized breaching gear target the ranch's supposed weak points. Multiple breaches on all sides, James reports, his voice tense. They're pushing with everything they've got. Marcus studies the tactical display, watching the cartel forces advance through the ranch's defensive layers. But there's something different about their movement patterns now. Desperation has made them sloppy. They're burning through there. Professional operators, he observes. El Coyote's throwing raw muscle at us now. Through the command center's reinforced windows, he watches Shadow and Storm coordinate their response to the new threat. The dogs move with practiced precision, their military training evident in how they adapt to changing battlefield conditions. Each sector critical, a handler's voice cuts through the chaos. They've breached the inner wall. Marcus's response is immediate. Sarah, take Storm and Shadow. Show them why we spent 6 months training for close-quarters combat. The cartel forces push through the breach, expecting to find standard security measures. Instead, they encounter something unprecedented. Military working dogs operating as coordinated tactical teams in confined spaces. Contact front, a cartel soldier screams in Spanish. These aren't normal dogs. His transmission cuts off as Storm and Shadow demonstrate their specialized training. The dogs don't just attack. They execute complex containment maneuvers, herding the intruders into prepared kill zones. Marcus, Isabella's voice comes through, urgent but controlled. We've got movement near the medical bunker. They found one of the ventilation shafts. In the underground medical facility, wounded handlers listen to the battle raging above. Their dogs remain vigilant, understanding the importance of protecting their injured partners. Implement Protocol Omega, Marcus orders. Shadow, Storm converge on medical. The two dogs move like shadows through Sunset Ridge's underground network, their handlers providing coordinated support. When the cartel team breaches the ventilation shaft, they face something they never trained for. Clear, Sarah reports minutes later. Medical sector secured. You should see what Storm did to their breaching expert. Marcus allows himself a moment of pride. Storm, still recovering from his Border Patrol PTSD, has proven that wounded warriors never lose their fighting spirit. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south, James warns. Heavy weapons mounted. They're going to try to suppress our defensive positions. Through his tactical scope, Marcus watches the cartel's armored vehicles move into position. El Coyote has committed his remaining heavy assets, but his frustration is making him predictable. All handlers fall back to hardened positions, he orders. Implement scorched earth protocols. The cartel vehicles advance confidently along Sunset Ridge's access roads, their crews unaware that every approach has been designed as a potential ambush point. When they trigger the first defensive measure, the entire column is caught in devastating crossfire. 2 vehicles disabled, Sarah reports with satisfaction. The rest are pulling back. But El Coyote isn't finished. Through facility cameras, Marcus watches the cartel leader directing his forces with increasing desperation. His reputation, his authority within the Sinaloa cartel. Everything depends on breaking Sunset Ridge's defense. They're bringing up demolition charges, James warns. Looks like they're planning to level the entire compound. Marcus studies the tactical display, noting the position of cartel demolition teams. They still don't understand. This isn't about the buildings. Sunset Ridge's true strength lies in its people and its dogs, in the unbreakable bonds forged through specialized training. All units prepare for maximum response, he broadcasts. Show them why military dogs are different from attack dogs. The ranch's remaining defensive positions come alive as handler teams execute coordinated counterattacks. Shadow and Storm target the demolition teams, while other dogs provide tactical support. Command, we've got movement on the ridge, Sarah reports. El Coyote's personal guard is moving up. Marcus watches the cartel leader's elite unit deploying for what looks like a final push. These are his best remaining operators, saved until now for this decisive moment. Status report, Marcus demands, moving between command positions. 4 more handlers wounded, 1 critical, Isabella responds. Dogs are still combat effective, but they're showing signs of fatigue. Through her night vision optics, Marcus spots El Coyote directing his forces with growing urgency. The cartel leader has committed too much to retreat now, but his options are running out. All units maintain defensive positions, he orders. They're going to throw everything they have left at us. Trust your dogs, trust your training. Around him, Sunset Ridge's defenders prepare for the coming assault. Each handler checks their equipment while their canine partners maintain alert positions. These dogs weren't trained just to attack. They were trained to think, to adapt, to work. As part of a larger tactical response, the night sky lights up as the cartel forces launch their renewed assault. El Coyote has decided to break Sunset Ridge's defense through sheer force, but he's about to learn why military working dogs are considered force multipliers and why the ranch's innovative training methods have made it a target worth destroying. El Coyote's elite unit moves like ghosts through the darkness, their movements betraying years of special operations training. These aren't cartel soldiers, they're former military specialists, operators who've sold their skills to the highest bidder. Multiple contacts moving tactical, James reports, tracking their heat signatures. These guys are different. Marcus watches through his thermal scope as the unit deploys with professional precision. Their gear sets them apart. Latest generation night vision, specialized breaching equipment, encrypted tactical comms. All handlers fall back to hardened positions. He orders, let them come to us. Show them why we train for exactly this scenario. The elite unit splits into 4-man teams, each approaching Sunset Ridge's defensive positions from different angles. Their coordination is impressive, but Marcus notes something crucial. They're still treating this like a standard tactical breach. They're good, Sarah observes from her position, but they don't understand what they're really facing. Through the ranch's advanced surveillance system, Marcus watches Shadow and Storm moving into predetermined positions. The dogs' military training shows in their absolute stillness, their perfect tactical positioning. Execute Pattern Sierra, he commands. All K9 units activate on my mark. The elite unit's first team breaches the outer defense line, moving with practiced efficiency. Their point man sweeps the darkness with an infrared laser, expecting to find standard security measures. Contact. Front, he suddenly shouts, his professional calm cracking. Multiple K9s moving in patterns we've never... His transmission cuts off as Shadow and Storm demonstrate why Sunset Ridge's training methods have revolutionized tactical K9 operations. The dogs don't just attack, They execute complex containment maneuvers, forcing the elite operators into prepared kill zones. East team neutralized, James reports with satisfaction. They never saw it coming, but El Coyote's remaining teams adapt quickly, shifting tactics to counter the unexpected threat. Their professionalism shows in how they adjust, moving to engage the K-9 units with specialized equipment. They've got sonic deterrence, Sarah warns. Military-grade anti-K-9 gear. Marcus's response is immediate. Implement Protocol Echo. Show them why we don't rely on just one approach. The ranch's defensive grid comes alive as handler teams execute coordinated counterattacks. While the elite unit focuses on defending against the dogs, they miss the handlers moving through concealed positions to outflank them. Multiple breaches on the west wall. A voice cuts through the command net. They're pushing with everything they've got. Through his tactical display, Marcus watches the elite unit's remaining teams coordinate their assault. Their frustration shows in increasingly aggressive movements, abandoning some of their tactical discipline. They're getting sloppy, James observes. El Coyote must be pushing them hard. The cartel leader's desperation is evident in how he's committing his best assets to frontal assaults. Through facility cameras, Marcus spots him pacing on the ridge, gesturing angrily as another attack fails. All units maintain defensive positions, he broadcasts. They're going to try something desperate. Stay alert. Isabella's voice comes through, urgent but controlled. Marcus, we've got movement near the medical bunker again. Different approach this time. In the underground facility, wounded handlers grip their weapons while their dogs maintain vigilant guard positions. The bond between human and canine partners shows in how they work together even when injured. Shadow, Storm, move to reinforce medical, Marcus orders. Pattern Omega in effect. The two dogs move like shadows through Sunset Ridge's underground network, their handlers providing coordinated support. When the elite unit attempts to breach the medical sector, they face something unprecedented. Targets neutralized, Sarah reports minutes later. You should see how Shadow and Storm work together. Perfect tactical coordination, Marcus allows himself a moment of pride. These dogs aren't just trained animals, they're combat veterans who understand exactly what's at stake. Multiple vehicles moving up the South Road, James warns. Looks like they're staging for another assault. Through his night vision optics, Marcus watches El Coyote's remaining forces prepare for what feels like a final push. The cartel leader has committed everything to this attack, but his elite unit's failures have clearly rattled him. Status report, he demands, moving between command positions. 2 more handlers wounded, non-critical, Isabella responds. Dogs are showing fatigue, but maintaining tactical discipline. The cross-training is holding up under real combat conditions. Around him, Sunset Ridge's defenders prepare for the next wave. Each handler checks their equipment while their K-9 partners maintain alert positions. These dogs weren't trained just to attack. They were trained to think, to adapt, to work as part of a larger tactical response. They're bringing up their heavy weapons, Sarah reports. El Coyote is going to try to suppress our positions while his elite unit makes another push. Marcus studies the tactical display, noting the disposition of enemy forces. The next phase of the battle will test everything Sunset Ridge stands for, not just the ranch's defensive capabilities, but the core principle that military working dogs can be more than just individual assets. All units prepare for maximum response, he broadcasts. Let's show them why Sunset Ridge's reputation was earned through more than just basic training. The night sky lights up as the cartel forces launch their renewed assault. El Coyote has decided to break the ranch's defense through sheer force, but his elite unit is about to learn why military working dogs are considered force multipliers, and why Sunset Ridge's innovative training methods have made it a target worth destroying. Shadow presses against Marcus's leg, his posture communicating everything he needs to know. These dogs aren't just trained animals. They're warriors who never stopped serving, and tonight they'll prove it one more time. Through the ranch's cameras, Marcus watches Storm and Shadow coordinate another perfect flanking maneuver. The dogs move like specters through the darkness, using terrain features for cover, demonstrating why Sunset Ridge's innovative training methods have proven so effective. They're pushing toward the command center, James warns. 3 teams, heavy weapons. Marcus makes a quick decision. Implement Protocol Zulu. All K9 units prepare for close quarters engagement. The ranch's remaining defensive positions come alive as handler teams execute their most sophisticated tactical responses. This is what they've trained for. The moment when everything depends on perfect coordination between human and canine partners. The elite unit's attack comes with professional precision, but they're about to learn that Sunset Ridge's defenders have been holding back their most effective tactical innovations. When the signal comes, the ranch's integrated defense grid transforms into something the cartel forces never anticipated. Protocol Zulu transforms Sunset Ridge's defense into something the cartel forces never anticipated. Hidden barriers rise from concealed positions, cutting off the elite unit's escape routes. Specialized lighting systems activate, disrupting their night vision equipment. But the real surprise comes from above. All K9 units execute vertical deployment, Marcus orders, watching the tactical display with focused intensity. The elite unit looks up too late. Shadow and Storm rappel from pre-positioned platforms, their specialized harnesses allowing them to strike from impossible angles. The dog's military training combines with Sunset Ridge's innovative tactics to create something unprecedented. 2 teams neutralized, James reports, tracking the action through thermal imaging. They never expected dogs to attack from above. El Coyote's voice carries across the compound, shouting orders in Spanish. The cartel leader's frustration has finally overtaken his tactical judgment. He's ordering his remaining forces into a frontal assault. He's making a mistake, Sarah observes from her position, breaking his forces into smaller units. Marcus nods, watching Shadow's alert posture. That's exactly what we've been waiting for. Execute Pattern Delta. Show them why we trained for distributed warfare. Pattern Delta splits Sunset Ridge's K9 teams into paired units, each dog working with a partner to control specific sectors of the battlefield. When the cartel forces push forward in scattered groups, they face coordinated resistance from multiple directions. Contact West, a handler reports. They're trying to breach the command center. Through facility cameras, Marcus watches Storm and Shadow move to intercept. The dogs work in perfect synchronization, their specialized training evident in how they control the engagement zone. Multiple tangos down, James confirms, but they're still pushing. El Coyote must have something big planned. The answer comes moments later as explosions rock the ranch's northern perimeter. The cartel has deployed their remaining demolition charges, trying to create chaos to cover their assault. All units fall back to hardened positions, Marcus orders. Implement scorched earth. HA protocols. The cartel forces advance through the smoke, expecting to find defenders in disarray. Instead, they walk into prepared kill zones. Sunset Ridge's dogs demonstrate why military canines are different from standard attack animals. They don't just react, they think tactically. Marcus, Isabella's voice cuts through the chaos. They've breached sub-level 2, moving toward the medical sector. In the underground medical facility, wounded handlers prepare for close-quarters combat. Their injured status hasn't diminished their effectiveness. If anything, it's made them more determined. Shadow, Storm, converge on medical, Marcus commands. Show them why we cross-train for underground operations. The two dogs move like spirits through Sunset Ridge's tunnel network, their handlers providing coordinated support. When the cartel team breaches the medical sector's outer defense, they face something they never trained for. Targets neutralized, Sarah reports minutes later. Medical sector secure. These dogs are performing beyond all expectations. Through his tactical scope, Marcus spots movement on the ridge. El Coyote is conferring urgently with his lieutenants, their body language showing growing discord. The cartel leader's plan is falling apart. Status report, he demands, moving. Between defensive positions. 3 more handlers wounded, non-critical, Isabella responds. Dogs are maintaining combat effectiveness, but we're seeing signs of extended operation fatigue. Around him, Sunset Ridge's defenders prepare for what feels like a decisive phase of the battle. Each handler checks their equipment while their K9 partners maintain alert positions. These aren't just trained animals, they're combat veterans who understand exactly what's at stake. Multiple vehicles moving up the South Road, James warns. Heavy weapons mounted, looks like their final push. Marcus studies the tactical display, noting the disposition of enemy forces. El Coyote has committed everything to this assault, but his forces are scattered, lacking the coordination that made them dangerous earlier. All units prepare for maximum response, he broadcasts. They think they've seen everything we can do. Show them why Sunset Ridge's reputation was earned through more than just basic training. The night erupts in controlled chaos as handler teams execute coordinated counterattacks. Shadow and Storm target the cartel's heavy weapons, while other dogs provide tactical support. Each dog moves with precision, their actions synchronized through months of specialized training. Command, we've got movement on the ridge, Sarah reports. El Coyote's personal guard is repositioning. Through her night vision optics, Marcus watches the cartel leader's elite protection detail taking up new positions. Their movement suggests something he's been waiting for. El Coyote is preparing to personally direct the final assault. Status on Pattern Omega, he asks, reaching a reinforced firing position. Ready on your mark, James confirms. Dogs are in position. Pattern Omega represents Sunset Ridge's most sophisticated tactical response, a coordinated defense that transforms the entire ranch into a synchronized battle space. When Marcus gives the signal, multiple K9 teams will emerge from hidden positions. Across the compound, execute, he commands. The night fills with precise, controlled action as Sunset Ridge's defenders demonstrate everything they've trained for. Each dog team moves with perfect coordination, understanding their role in the larger strategy. Through facility cameras, Marcus watches Storm and Shadow coordinate another perfect flanking maneuver. The dogs move like specters through the darkness, using terrain features for cover, demonstrating why Sunset Ridge's innovative training methods have proven so effective. They're pulling back from the north sector, James reports with satisfaction. El Coyote's lost control of his forward units. Marcus allows himself a tight smile. The cartel leader's frustration has finally led to a critical error. He's lost the tactical cohesion that made his forces dangerous. Now it's time to show him exactly what Sunset Ridge's defenders can do. All units maintain pressure, he orders. Don't let them regroup. Show them why military dogs are different from attack dogs. The ranch's remaining defensive positions come alive as handler teams press their advantage. This is what they've trained for. The moment when everything depends on perfect coordination between human and canine partners. Rex, too, watches her with calm focus, his posture communicating everything she needs to know. These dogs aren't just trained animals. They're warriors who never stopped serving. And tonight, they're about to prove why Sunset Ridge's reputation was earned through more than just basic training. El Coyote's voice cuts through the night, no longer bothering with radio communication. The cartel leader has moved to a forward position, personally directing his remaining forces. His frustration shows in every barked command. Bring up the incendiary weapons, he orders in Spanish. Burn it all. Burn everything. Marcus watches through his tactical scope as cartel forces reposition, bringing up equipment he's been dreading, military-grade thermite charges designed to burn through reinforced positions. All handlers fall back to fire-hardened zones, he orders. Implement Protocol Inferno. Protocol Inferno represents something Sunset Ridge developed but never wanted to use. Defensive measures specifically designed for extreme thermal threats. As handlers guide their dogs to protected positions, the ranch's most sophisticated systems activate. They're setting up burn teams, James reports, tracking multiple heat signatures. 4-man units, professional demolitions experts. Through the command center's reinforced windows, Marcus watches Shadow and Storm coordinating their response. The dogs' military training shows in how they adapt to the new threat, maintaining tactical discipline despite the increasing danger. Marcus! Isabella's voice comes through, urgent but controlled. Temperature sensors are spiking in sectors 3 and 7. They're using something new. The cartel's burn teams move with practiced efficiency, deploying their weapons in a pattern designed to cut off escape routes. But Sunset Ridge's defenders have prepared for this possibility. Execute Pattern Omega-3, Marcus commands. Show them why we spent months training for thermal conditions. The ranch's response transforms what looked like vulnerability into tactical advantage. As the cartel forces focus on their incendiary attack, they miss the K9 teams moving through specially protected routes. Multiple contacts east perimeter, Sarah reports. They're pushing hard toward the training center. Through her thermal imaging, Marcus watches Storm and Shadow coordinate a flanking maneuver. The dogs move like ghosts through the growing inferno, their specialized training evident in every calculated step. Target their burn teams first, he orders. Don't let them establish a complete fire barrier. Sunset Ridge's defenders demonstrate why their training methods have revolutionized tactical K9 operations. The dogs don't just attack, they execute complex containment maneuvers, forcing the cartel's demolition experts away from their equipment. 2. Burn teams neutralized, James confirms, but El Coyote is pushing more forward. He's committing everything. The cartel leader's voice carries across the compound, rage evident in every word. His reputation, his authority within the Sinaloa cartel, everything depends on breaking Sunset Ridge's defense. Bring up the heavy weapons, he shouts. Suppress their positions. Don't let those dogs move. Marcus studies the tactical display, noting the disposition of enemy forces. El Coyote's frustration has made him predictable. He's abandoning sophisticated tactics for brute force. All units prepare for maximum response, he broadcasts. Pattern Delta in effect. Trust your dogs, trust your training. Through facility, cameras, he watches Shadow and Storm moving to intercept another burn team. The dogs work in perfect synchronization, their handlers providing coordinated support through encrypted communications. Contact front, a handler reports. They're trying to breach the medical bunker again. In the underground facility, wounded personnel prepare for close quarters combat. Their injuries haven't diminished their effectiveness. If anything, they're more determined to protect their position. Shadow, Storm, reinforce medical, Marcus orders. Pattern Sigma active. Show them why we cross-train for thermal operations. The two dogs move through Sunset Ridge's protected passages, their movements showing years of specialized training. When the cartel forces breach the outer defenses, they face something unprecedented. Targets contained, Sarah reports minutes later. Medical sector secure. But Marcus, you need to see this. Through her command scope, she spots what Sarah's noticed. El Coyote has moved even closer to the front lines, his personal guard struggling to maintain a protective perimeter. He's losing control, James observes. His own men are starting to hesitate. The cartel leader's voice carries clearly now, desperation replacing anger. His orders become increasingly erratic as another assault fails to breach Sunset Ridge's defenses. Status report, Marcus demands, moving between command positions. 5 more handlers wounded, 2 critical. Isabella responds. Dogs are showing signs of heat stress, but maintaining tactical discipline. The thermal training protocols are working. Around him, Sunset Ridge's defenders adjust to the evolving threat. Each handler guides their canine partner through practiced maneuvers, their movements showing perfect coordination despite the harsh conditions. They're bringing up their reserves, James warns. El Coyote's committing his last heavy assets. Through her thermal imaging, Marcus watches the cartel's remaining vehicles move into position. The next phase of the battle will test everything Sunset Ridge stands for. Not just the ranch's defensive capabilities, but the core principle that military working dogs can be more than just individual assets. All units maintain defensive positions, he orders. They think they can break us with brute force. Show them why Sunset Ridge's reputation was earned through more than just basic training. Shadow presses against his leg, his posture communicating everything Marcus needs to know. These dogs aren't just trained animals, they're warriors who never stopped serving, and tonight they'll prove it against the harshest conditions they've ever faced. Through the ranch's surveillance network, Marcus watches Storm and Shadow coordinate another perfect containment maneuver. The dogs move with precision through the heat-stressed environment, using protected routes to outflank cartel positions. Multiple breaches west wall, a voice cuts through the command net. They're pushing with everything they've got. The night erupts in controlled chaos as handler teams execute coordinated counterattacks. This is what they've trained for. The moment when everything depends on perfect coordination between human and canine partners. El Coyote's voice rises above the chaos, ordering another push forward, but his men's response lacks the professional discipline they showed earlier. The cartel leader's desperation has infected his entire force, turning coordinated attacks into increasingly disorganized assaults. Hold the line, Marcus broadcasts. Show them why military dogs are different from attack dogs. Show them why. Sunset Ridge exists. The thermite charges transform sections of the ranch into an inferno, but Marcus's preparations prove their worth. Fire suppression systems activate automatically, while protected routes allow defenders to maintain tactical positions. Temperature reaching critical levels in Sector 5. Isabella reports monitoring environmental sensors, but the dogs are maintaining discipline. The heat training is paying off. Through the command center's reinforced windows, Marcus watches, Shadow and Storm coordinating their movements through the flames. The dogs show no hesitation, their military training evident in how they adapt to the extreme conditions. Multiple contacts moving tactical, James warns. They're using the fire for cover. El Coyote's voice carries across the compound, directing his forces to push through the gaps created by the burning zones. But his tactical advantage disappears as Sunset Ridge's defenders demonstrate another layer of their specialized training. Execute. Pattern Phoenix, Marcus orders. Show them why we spent 3 months practicing thermal operations. Pattern Phoenix transforms apparent vulnerability into strategic advantage. As cartel forces advance through the flames, they encounter K9 teams, moving with precise coordination, using the fire-created chaos to mask their approach. 2 more teams neutralized, Sarah reports with satisfaction. They never saw Shadow and Storm coming. The cartel's remaining professional operators adapt quickly, shifting tactics to counter the unexpected threat. But their adjustment comes too late. Sunset Ridge's dogs have already established control of key tactical positions. Command, we've got movement near the medical bunker. A handler's voice cuts through the chaos. Heavy weapons team setting up. Marcus's response is immediate. Shadow Storm, converge on medical. Pattern Delta active. Don't let them establish a firing position. The 2 dogs move like shadows through the protected routes, their handlers providing coordinated support. When the cartel team attempts to deploy their weapons, they face something unprecedented. Medical sector secured, Sarah confirms minutes later. You should see what Storm did to their heavy gunner. These dogs are performing beyond all expectations. Through his tactical scope, Marcus spots El Coyote moving to an exposed position, his frustration overwhelming basic security protocols. The cartel leader's personal guard struggles to maintain formation as he pushes forward. He's making mistakes, James observes, breaking his own tactical doctrine. The night fills with controlled chaos as handler teams execute coordinated counterattacks. Each dog moves with precision, their actions synchronized through months of specialized training in extreme conditions. Marcus, Isabella's voice comes through, urgent but controlled. Environmental sensors are showing dangerous heat levels in the East Wing. The structural integrity might be compromised. El Coyote seizes on this apparent weakness, directing his forces to concentrate their incendiary attacks on that sector. But Sunset Ridge's layered defense proves its worth again. Implement Protocol Avalanche, Marcus commands. Let's show them why we built this ranch the way we did. Protocol Avalanche activates Sunset Ridge's most sophisticated defensive measures. Hidden barriers redirect the thermal threat, while protected routes allow defenders to outflank the attacking forces. Multiple tangos retreating from East Sector. James reports, they weren't expecting this level of preparation. Through facility cameras, Marcus watches Shadow and Storm coordinate another perfect containment maneuver. The dogs move like spirits through the flames, using their specialized training to maximum effect. Status report, he demands, moving between Command positions. 3 more handlers wounded, non-critical. Isabella responds. Dogs are showing remarkable resilience to the heat stress. The thermal conditioning is holding. Around him, Sunset Ridge's defenders maintain their disciplined response. Each handler works in perfect coordination with their canine partner, their movements showing years of specialized training. They're bringing up more demolition charges, Sarah warns. El Coyote's trying to collapse our defensive grid. Marcus studies the tactical display, noting the disposition of enemy forces. The cartel leader's frustration has made him predictable. He's committing resources without proper tactical consideration. All units prepare for maximum response, he broadcasts. Pattern Omega in effect. Show them why Sunset Ridge's reputation was earned through more than just basic training. Shadow presses against his leg, his posture communicating everything Marcus needs to know. These dogs aren't just trained animals. They're warriors who never stop serving, and tonight they're proving it under the harshest conditions imaginable. Multiple vehicles moving up the South Road, James reports. Heavy weapons mounted. Looks like their final push. Through his thermal imaging, Marcus watches El Coyote's remaining forces prepare for what feels like a decisive assault. The cartel leader has committed everything to this attack, but his tactical cohesion is breaking down. They're targeting the command center, Sarah warns. 3 teams, demolition gear. Marcus makes a quick decision. Implement Protocol Zulu. All K9 units prepare for close quarters engagement. The ranch's remaining defensive positions come alive as handler teams execute their most sophisticated tactical responses. This is what they've trained for, the moment when everything depends on perfect coordination between human and K9 partners. Contact front, a handler shouts. They're breaching. Sector 7. Through the flames and chaos, Sunset Ridge's defenders demonstrate why their training methods have revolutionized tactical K9 operations. The dogs don't just attack, they execute complex containment maneuvers, forcing the cartel forces into prepared kill zones. El Coyote's personal guard is splitting up, James observes. He's losing control of his own protection detail. Marcus watches through his command scope as the cartel leader's frustration reaches a breaking point. His orders become increasingly erratic, his tactical judgment compromised by mounting failures. Hold the line, he broadcasts to all units. Show them why military dogs are different from attack dogs. Show them what Sunset Ridge really stands for. The night erupts in precise, controlled action as handler teams press their advantage. Shadow and Storm target the demolition teams while other dogs provide tactical support. Each dog moves with perfect coordination, their actions synchronized through months of specialized training. Through the ranch's advanced surveillance system, Marcus spots movement on the ridge. El Coyote is preparing for something desperate. Something that could change the entire course of the battle. El Coyote makes his move at the darkest hour before dawn. The cartel leader abandons his command position, taking direct control of his remaining elite operators. His voice carries across the compound, no longer bothering with tactical communications. "Bring up the heavy weapons," he shouts in Spanish. "Target their command center, level everything." Marcus watches through thermal imaging as cartel forces reposition, bringing up equipment that makes his blood run cold. Vehicle-mounted heavy machine guns, rocket-propelled grenades, everything they have left. All handlers fall back to hardened positions, he orders. Implement Protocol Omega 4. Through the command center's reinforced windows, he watches Shadow and Storm coordinating their response. The dogs' military training shows in how they adapt to the escalating threat, maintaining perfect tactical discipline. Multiple breaches in Sector 3, James reports. They're pushing with everything they've got. El Coyote leads from the front. Now his frustration driving him to take unnecessary risks. His personal guard struggles to maintain formation as he directs the assault personally. Execute Pattern Hydra, Marcus commands. Show them why we cross-train for multiple threat responses. Pattern. Hydra transforms Sunset Ridge's defense into something the cartel forces never anticipated. As they focus on breaching key positions, they miss the K-9 teams moving through concealed routes to outflank them. Contact west, Sarah's voice cuts through the chaos. Heavy weapons team setting up firing positions. Through facility cameras, Marcus watches Shadow and Storm move to intercept. The dogs work in perfect synchronization, their handlers providing coordinated support through encrypted communications. Target neutralized, James confirms. But there's more coming. El Coyote's committing everything he has left. The cartel. Leader's voice rises above the sound of combat, ordering another push forward. His tactical judgment has been replaced by pure rage. He's determined to destroy Sunset Ridge at any cost. Marcus, Isabella reports urgently, environmental sensors are showing critical stress in multiple sectors. The ranch is taking heavy damage. Sunset Ridge's defenders demonstrate why their training methods have revolutionized tactical K-9 operations. The dogs don't just attack, they execute complex containment maneuvers, forcing the cartel forces into prepared kill zones. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south, James warns. Modified technicals with mounted weapons. Marcus studies the tactical display, noting the disposition of enemy forces. El Coyote's frustration has made him predictable. He's abandoning sophisticated tactics for brute force. All units prepare for maximum response, he broadcasts. Pattern Lambda active. Trust your dogs. Trust your training. Through his command scope, he spots El Coyote moving between attacking units, personally directing the assault. The cartel leader's exposed position presents an opportunity, but Marcus knows it's also a trap. They're targeting the medical bunker. Again, Sarah reports, heavy demolition charges. In the underground facility, wounded handlers prepare for close-quarters combat. Their injuries haven't diminished their effectiveness. If anything, they're more determined to protect their position. Shadow, Storm, move to reinforce medical, Marcus orders. Pattern Sigma in effect. Show them why we train for underground operations. The two dogs move like shadows through Sunset Ridge's protected passages, their movements showing years of specialized training. When the cartel forces breach the outer defenses, they face something unprecedented. Medical sector secured, James confirms minutes later. But we've got multiple contacts moving on the command center. Through thermal imaging, Marcus watches El Coyote's elite unit deploying for what looks like their final assault. These are his last professional operators, saved until now for this decisive moment. Status report, he demands, moving between defensive positions. 4 more handlers wounded, non-critical, Isabella responds. Dogs are maintaining combat effectiveness, but we're seeing signs of extended operation fatigue. Around him, Sunset Ridge's defenders prepare for what feels like the battle's turning point. Each handler checks their equipment while their K-9 partners maintain alert positions. These aren't just trained animals, they're combat veterans who understand exactly what's at stake. They're bringing up their reserve ammunition, Sarah warns. El Coyote's planning something big. Marcus makes a quick decision. Implement Protocol Phoenix. All K9 units prepare for coordinated response. The ranch's remaining defensive positions come alive as handler teams execute their most sophisticated tactical maneuvers. This is what they've trained for, the moment when everything depends on perfect coordination between human and K9 partners. Multiple breaches north wall. A voice cuts through the command net. They're pushing with everything they've got. Through the chaos. Sunset Ridge's defenders demonstrate why their training methods have proven so effective. Each dog team moves with precision, their actions synchronized through months of specialized training. El Coyote's personal guard is breaking formation, James observes. He's exposing himself to direct fire. Marcus watches through his tactical scope as the cartel leader's frustration reaches its peak. His orders become increasingly erratic, his movements showing a dangerous disregard for basic security. "Hold the line," he broadcasts. "Show them why military dogs are different from attack dogs. Show them what Sunset Ridge stands for." Shadow presses against his leg, his posture communicating everything Marcus needs to know. These dogs aren't just trained animals. They're warriors who never stopped serving, and tonight they're about to prove it one final time. Through the ranch's surveillance network, Marcus spots movement that changes everything. El Coyote is preparing for something desperate, something that could turn the entire battle on its head. "All units maintain defensive positions," he orders. "Whatever comes next, trust your dogs, trust your training. This is what Sunset Ridge was built for." El Coyote's final gambit begins with a deafening explosion. The cartel leader has saved his most devastating weapons for this moment, deploying military-grade explosives to create a massive breach in Sunset Ridge's outer defenses. Multiple wall of failures in sectors 4 through 7. James reports, his voice tense as he watches the tactical display. They're coming through in force. Marcus studies the thermal imaging feeds, watching El Coyote personally lead his remaining elite operators toward the breach. The cartel leader's movements show military training. He's not just a commander, he's a former Special Forces operator himself. "All handlers execute Pattern Omega 5, he orders. "Show them why we prepared for this exact scenario." Through the command center's reinforced windows, he watches Shadow and Storm coordinating their response. The dogs move with deadly precision, their military training evident in every calculated step. "Heavy weapons team setting up in the breach," Sarah warns. "They're trying to establish a fire base." El Coyote's voice carries across the compound, directing his forces with the expertise of someone who understands tactical warfare. But his frustration makes him miss crucial details, like the subtle movement of K9 teams through concealed positions. "Shadow, Storm, move to interdict," Marcus commands. "Pattern Delta active. Don't let them get those heavy weapons online." The two dogs demonstrate why Sunset Ridge's training methods have revolutionized tactical K9 operations. They don't just attack, they execute complex flanking maneuvers, forcing the cartel's weapons teams to abandon their equipment. "Firebase neutralized," James confirms. But El Coyote is pushing forward with his assault teams. The cartel leader has committed everything to this attack. His remaining forces move with professional precision, but there's an edge of desperation to their actions now. "Marcus," Isabella's voice comes through, urgent but controlled. "Medical reports 3 more handlers down, non-critical. But we're running out of combat-effective personnel." Through facility cameras, Marcus watches Shadow and Storm coordinate another perfect containment operation. The dogs work in seamless synchronization, their handlers providing support through encrypted communications. Multiple contacts approaching the command center, James reports. El Coyote is leading them personally. Marcus makes a quick decision. Implement Protocol Chimera. All K9 units prepare for close quarters engagement. Protocol Chimera represents Sunset Ridge's most sophisticated defensive strategy. A coordinated response that transforms the entire ranch into an integrated tactical grid. When the signal comes, multiple K9 teams emerge from hidden positions. Contact. Front! A handler shouts. They've breached the inner perimeter. Through his command scope, Marcus watches El Coyote's elite unit deploying for what looks like their final push. These are his absolute best operators, saved until now for this decisive moment. Status report, he demands, moving between defensive positions. 5 handlers combat effective, Isabella responds. Dogs are showing fatigue, but maintaining tactical discipline. The training is holding. Around him, Sunset Ridge's defenders prepare for what feels like the battle's turning point. Each handler checks their equipment, while their K9 partners maintain alert positions. These aren't just trained animals. They're combat veterans who understand exactly what's at stake. They're bringing up demolition charges, Sarah warns, trying to collapse our defensive positions. Through thermal imaging, Marcus spots El Coyote directing the placement of explosives. The cartel leader's tactical experience shows in how he targets critical structural points. Execute Pattern Phoenix, he orders. Show them why we built this. Ranch in layers. The ranch's response transforms apparent vulnerability into strategic advantage. As cartel forces focus on their demolition attack, they miss the K9 teams moving through specially protected routes. Multiple breaches in Sector 2. A voice cuts through the command net. They're pushing with everything they've got. Sunset. Ridge's defenders demonstrate why their training methods have proven so effective. Each dog team moves with perfect coordination, their actions synchronized through months of specialized training. El Coyote's reached the secondary defensive line, James reports. He's exposed himself to direct engagement. Marcus watches through his tactical scope as the cartel leader drives his forces forward. His frustration has finally overcome his tactical judgment. He's taking unnecessary risks in his determination to break Sunset Ridge's defense. Hold position, he broadcasts. Let them commit fully to the assault. Show them why military dogs are different from attack dogs. Through the facility's surveillance system, Marcus spots the decisive moment. El Coyote's aggressive push has separated him from his personal guard. The cartel leader's determination to lead from the front has created a fatal vulnerability. Execute. Final protocol, Marcus broadcasts. Show them everything we've got. The final assault transforms into a perfectly coordinated takedown. Hidden barriers rise, cutting off escape routes, while specialized lighting systems activate, disrupting the cartel's remaining night vision equipment. Shadow and Storm lead the final containment operation, moving with deadly precision acquired through years of Delta Force operations. El Coyote finds himself suddenly isolated, surrounded by America's most elite four-legged warriors. Target contained, Sarah confirms moments later. Ghost and Thunder have him completely secured. The cartel leader stands surrounded by military, working dogs. His expression showing the dawning realization that he's been defeated not just by any security force, but by the very K9 units he dismissed as simple ranch guards. As dawn breaks over Sunset Ridge Ranch, state police vehicles surround the property while FBI tactical teams secure the perimeter. Marcus watches Shadow, maintaining his disciplined guard position even in victory. You've trained them well, El Coyote acknowledges finally. But you don't understand what you've started. Remember that the next time you think about targeting a veteran's ranch, Marcus responds, Shadow alert at his side. The battle for Sunset Ridge Ranch wasn't just about defending property. It proved that America's military working dogs never truly retire. They just find new ways to serve, protecting the values they were trained to defend. If this story touched you, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We've got more incredible tales of courage, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond between handlers and their canine partners coming up. Don't miss them. Hit that subscribe button now, and we'll see you in the next video.